I demand democracy.
I demand democracy.
We demand democracy.
I don't want to have to demand democracy. I want the United States to live up to its promise, essentially.
I believe in democracy because I believe in America.
I demand democracy for so many reasons, but one, because I love America.
I love the 14th Amendment.
I demand democracy because my queer Jewish family deserves representation, safety, and a future.
I demand democracy because my family has lived through the alternative.
I demand democracy because when every voice counts, we can all move forward together. That's why I care about voting rights and fair representation.
Accessible voting rights means that we can all show up and have our voices heard or seen.
Voting rights is how we protect one another. I won't sit back while power is rigged for a few.
If we all voted, like the right side would always win because there's more of us.
I want to be able to vote fairly. I want gerrymandering to stop. I want to know that when I vote, my vote is counted.
Accountability in politics should be the bare minimum, not some out of reach ideal.
I want to be able to question my leaders, question my representation, ask and know the answers.
Everything should be transparent. Like every document they sign, every meeting that they have, like there should be no secrecy in a democracy. I feel like that's where like the villains start to enter.
Informed, free people have the right to self-determination.
I love the America that we can be and the America that we can dream and create. And that means we got to have some good trouble.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Good Trouble Persists, hosted by the Persist Network, MomsRising, and West Coast Women Forward. Some norms for this evening's program. First, you will all receive a follow-up email after the event with the links shared with you in the chat, so you do not need to worry about capturing them in real time. We have a wonderful technical team supporting us, but in the event of any technical concerns, please have a laugh, embrace it, and move forward with us. If there are any interruptions in the program, we'll tackle them and move forward as quickly as we can. There will be calls to action, including opportunities to create tonight. If you'd like to grab a sheet of paper and something to draw with if you're able, or have a device available to record your voice, please do so. We have two incredible hosts to keep the show moving tonight. We are so thrilled to welcome Katie Phang and Dr. Nola Haynes. We encourage you to turn on your captioning if needed. And with that, it is my pleasure to welcome COO of MomsRising, Monifa Bandele.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, family. We're so happy you are here. As was said, I'm Monifa Bandele. I'm the COO of MomsRising, and I'm really honored to be here and to represent our over 1 million members who are all across the country. We cover every state in the nation, and we're joining all of you on this National Day of Good Trouble Action. We just want to take a quick moment, though, to say that tonight it's not about MomsRising, it's not about Persist or West Coast Women Forward, even though we're so proud to host this event together. What tonight is really about is you. And let's be clear, we couldn't have pulled this off without all of the teams and staffs and volunteers from all of the organizations and all of you on the phone. This is not a fundraising Zoom. Tonight is a gathering for action, reflection, and community. And it's free and open to all. And we're so excited to be here with you. Good Trouble Lives On is a national day of action to respond to the attacks posed on democracy, civil rights, and human rights by the Trump administration, and to remind them that the vision of the United States on paper is that the power should lie with the people. Coined by civil rights leader Congressman John Lewis, Good trouble is marches, protests, service work, and actions where communities come together. Now, before I go any further, if there's a Good Trouble event happening near you and you can still get there, go. Seriously, get up, grab your shoes, and go, especially if you're in Arizona, California, or anywhere in the West Coast where it's still relatively early. If you're back home because your event happened earlier today and you're in a different time zone and joining us tonight, thank you for showing up and being here. And now you went out and now you're here too. And if you're here because you desperately wanted to attend a rally or protest, but you haven't been able to, this space was actually built just for you. So thank you for being here as well. And now I'd like to introduce and pass the mic over to our co-convener, Barbara of West Coast Women Forward. Barbara?
Please welcome your hosts for the evening, beginning with Dr. Nola Haynes.
Hi, what happened to the architect, Miss Barbara? Barbara Schwartz? What is going on? Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Nola Haynes, and I feel so uniquely honored to be co-hosting with an amazing and incredible human being, advocate, and public personality, and really just one of the most authentic legal voices out there. And before I pivot to introduce the amazing Katie Phang, I definitely want to say thank you to the Persist Network, to MomsRising, and to West Coast Women Forward. And I genuinely don't know what happened to Barbara, but I want everyone out there to know that Barbara Schwartz was the architect and she drove this thing, honey. Like everybody in the background was helping putting this together, but this is definitely something that this is Barbara powered. So thank you so much, Barbara, for all your hard work. Thank you for our global friends who are here from Germany. It is almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for West Coast folks. Thank you for Central folks, everybody that is here tonight to join us to get into some wonderful good trouble. And with that, I want to introduce the amazing Katie Phang. We all know and love her from her days and years on MSNBC. But before she did that, she spent some time on the other network. We're not gonna mention that tonight. But but she pivoted.
Nola, listen, my gratitude again to echo what you said about all of the hard work that went into us being able to hang out together tonight. I talk about all the time on my YouTube channel and otherwise that to be activated and to be engaged. And Nola, this is something I talk about as well offline. That it can be whatever you want it to be. The important thing is that you're activated and you're engaged. And I am looking in the chat and I'm seeing that people were out and about showing their voices, expressing their opinions, and letting this administration know what the hell they think about it. But now you're here with us and we have a lineup of exceptional speakers and people that are going to really make you feel inspired and make you realize that good trouble has to happen. We're not going to get through this unless we get into good trouble together. And so without any further ado, we're going to introduce Heather Booth from Battleground Alliance. Heather has been in that fight alongside some pretty amazing people. And Heather, we're going to ask you now to take the mic and to share your ideas about good trouble with the incredible people that have joined us tonight.
Well, welcome, Heather.
If we organize, we can change this world. And you are the change makers. You are changing this world and making it better. This is a very challenging period. It's taking all we have, but everything you do makes a difference. I learned this in part from John Lewis. When I was 18 years old, I was part of the Freedom Summer Project. And next slide. And in Mississippi in 1964, many of you have heard about this project where Northern students were recruited to support very courageous African Americans who were struggling to live with dignity and respect and struggling for the right to vote. Next slide. You'll see here's a picture of me at 18 in the Bolivar County Courthouse. We were just supporting a voter registration drive. I was only holding up a sign, But this picture was taken moments before I was arrested for the first time. And even that holding up a sign was good trouble in an authoritarian regime. Next slide. Here's a picture of me at 18 again with a guitar I used to play for mass rallies. And this is with a fabulous Fannie Lou Hamer with two of her friends in front of her home in Ruralville, Mississippi. Next slide. Many of you heard about the Freedom Summer Project because three of the young volunteers, Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner, were killed at the hands of the Klan. But within a year, we won a Voting Rights Act, even when it seemed impossible, because we were building what the Student Nonviolent Committee called, we were building a beloved community. And we were making good trouble. We were doing the organizing. And next slide. We now know there's a pushback on so many of the advances we've had. This is Trayvon Martin and Freddie Gray and Michael Brown and others who've been killed or lives taken in this struggle. But we know that when we organize, we have changed this world and we will change this world. Next slide. I returned to my campus in 1965, and a friend of mine told me his sister was pregnant and wanted an abortion at a time when in Chicago, 3 people talking about having an abortion would be a conspiracy to commit a very serious felony. I didn't really know what to do, but I tried to support my friend, and I found a doctor through the civil rights movement. By the way, the doctor was T.R.M. Howard, a great civil rights leader, who was also had his life threatened by the Klan. But he performed the procedure. I thought that was it, but then someone else called. We performed another procedure and someone else called. And while there's much more to the story, because we wanted to create a system with so many people coming through, next slide, we call the system Jane. I recruited others into that system. And between 1965 and 1973, the women of Jane themselves performed 11,000 abortions. Next slide. And we won Roe. It became the law of the land. Telling the truth is revolutionary. We can make that change when we organize. Next slide. And now we know there's a pushback on these rights also. But when we build our power, when you make the change and organize, we change this world, even when it seems so difficult. Next slide. And we have to build our power in the streets, online, in our culture, and in nonviolent, non-cooperation, as well as turn our power into voting power and electoral power. Next slide. And then we can overcome this vicious authoritarian force that we face. Next slide. Because John Lewis told us that never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get into good trouble, necessary trouble, build that beloved community as so many of our leaders have done. Next slide. Many of our elected officials as well as grassroots leaders. But here you see the remarkable leader, Hakeem Jeffries, who will be on shortly, and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, and the not only emerita Nancy Pelosi, but the extraordinaria emerita Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, Senator Andrew Kim, Congressman Judy Chu, and Senator Cory Booker. But then the list goes on, and all of your pictures could be there because you are also the heroes. And next slide. And today, there were 1,600 events. I was at one, and there were 100. You couldn't even count it. Both sides of the street, up and down a main thoroughfare. It was all over the country. The past, present, and future. We are organizing. Next slide. And when we organize, when we build our numbers, next slide, we change this world. You are the world changers. Get into good trouble. I look forward to celebrating our victories together.
Unbelievable. How incredibly inspiring. Thank you, Heather Booth. I feel like thank you's not enough, right? Heather, you've been doing this for so long, and you have shown, though, that persistence pays off, but that the fight continues. So, Heather Booth, thank you. Thank you for all that you have sacrificed so that somebody like me can sit here and be able to share this space with you. We're very grateful for you.
Absolutely, 1000%. You did some preaching, Heather. Like I needed that for my spirit and my soul. And I think that tees us up very nicely for our next guest. He is Christopher Inez Onyx, also known as Landon C.L. Smith, Mr. Gay America Esquire 2025. Honey, he is coming to the stage. And with that, Christopher, welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So, I want to start off first by saying that about the LGBTQ plus community, we are here. We're not something that gets added into the mix later on. We're part of every race. We're part of every culture, every religion, every class, and every age group. We cannot truly build a just society without us because right now we're already part of every community. My name, like was mentioned before, is Christopher Inez Onyx. I am a Black gay man, a drag artist, and Gay America Esquire 2025. I'm also someone who lives with HIV, and I'm a proud partner to a trans Jewish man. I'm the director of development for Phoenix Pride here in Arizona, where I get to do the work of turning celebration into opportunity and pride into purpose. I say that up front because I live at the intersection of many identities. And if I've learned anything, I've learned this. Intersectionality is not just a buzzword, it's a roadmap for how we win. When we talk about justice, we have to center the people most impacted, whether that be trans folks, disabled folks, undocumented individuals, Black and brown queer people, low-income communities, and youth. It's not just enough to include them, but to also lead with them. That's how we build a movement that's unshakable. Because when we fight for those at the margins, that's when we're able to pull everyone closer towards freedom. The history of the community backs this up. In the 70s and the 80s, the LGBTQ plus people were creating entire ecosystems of care and resistance while the world ignored us. During the HIV and AIDS crisis, we built clinics, we changed public health, pushed for research, demanded patient rights, and created legal precedents that helped everyone, whether they were a part of the community or not. And most of that was led by people who lived at the intersections of being poor, Black, brown, trans, or immigrants. I carry all of that history with me, not just as a burden, but as a torch. Still today, we're watching books being banned, drag being outlawed, trans healthcare being attacked, and queer youth criminalized just for living their lives authentically. It's the same fear-based tactics, it's now just wrapped in new language. But here also is the thing. Civility is not the solution. In fact, it's holding us back. Civility has become a trap, a way to tell people to be quiet, to wait their turn, to make their oppression more palatable. But good trouble, as John Lewis taught us, was never about comfort. It was about disruption. It was about urgency. We cannot keep playing by the rules that were never written to protect us in the first place, because the people who want to strip us of our rights, they are counting on us to be too tired, too discouraged, and too distracted to show up. But if we persist, if we show up anyway, they don't stand a chance. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." It's not just a quote for posters or for t-shirts. It's a principle that we have to live by. If we ignore oppression in one community, we leave that door open for it to grow in all other communities. So what do we do now? We make a plan to vote, not just for ourselves. We check in with our friends, we help our elders, we talk to our coworkers, we make sure people know what's at stake and how powerful their voice really is. We lead boldly, relentlessly, intersecting at every step of the way. Good trouble isn't just a phrase, it's legacy, it's responsibility. It's a promise to every person that came before us and every person who's coming after us that we won't back down and we will not disappear. So let's keep showing up, let's keep organizing, and let's keep making good trouble together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christopher. That was amazing. That was absolutely incredible. And we are actually on time, Katie, which is amazing. This is wonderful.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm sure everybody who's tuning in now is happy to hear that too.
Absolutely. And because we have a little time, I actually want to read Leader Jeffries' bio to give it the attention that it deserves. He's
Sure.
here. And so I just want to kind of get through this. All of you know who Leader Jeffries is, but I want to make sure you all know who he is. So I just want to go through his receipts really quickly before we welcome him on the stage. Okay. So, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, representing the diverse 8th Congressional District of New York, and serving his 7th term in the United States Congress. Representative Jeffries is the Democratic leader, having been unanimously elected to the position by his colleagues in November 2022. Representative Jeffries is a tireless advocate for social and economic justice. He has worked hard to help residents recover from the devastation of COVID, reform our criminal justice system, improve the economy for everyday Americans, and protect our health care from right-wing attacks. Representative Jeffries served as one of the 7 House impeachment managers in the Senate trial of President Donald Trump, becoming the first African-American man to serve in that role. As one of the most effective legislators, Representative Jeffries has passed multiple bills through the House of Representatives and into law with substantial bipartisan and stakeholder support. He has been instrumental in House Democratic efforts to put people over politics by lowering costs, creating better paying jobs, and fighting for safer communities. During the Biden presidency, Democrats passed the American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act. Receipts. Raised in Crown Heights and a product of New York City Public School, Congressman Jeffries obtained his bachelor's degree in political science, from the State University of New York at Birmingham, a master's degree in public policy from Georgetown, double A, and graduated magna cum laude from New York University School of Law, where he served on law review. More receipts, y'all. Representative Jeffries clerked for the Honorable Harold Baer, Jr. of the United States District Court of the Southern District of New York. He then practiced law for several years at large law firms and as a corporate litigation counsel. Woo! Okay, I thought I had an impressive CV, but Leader Jeffries has the receipts, y'all. Okay, I'm just really, really honored to welcome him to the stage. Also, because I know there's a very important vote. Katie, we were talking about that earlier. So for Representative Jeffries to be here tonight, that says a lot, that he's ready to get into some good trouble, connect with the people. And I just want to welcome him to the stage.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, Dr. Haynes. Thank you so much for your leadership, for that very generous introduction. Katie, thank you for your leadership, for all that you do. And thank you to everybody for joining this incredibly important gathering and convening. One, as we, of course, continue to honor the leadership, the life, and the legacy of the great John Lewis 5 years after he transitioned to heaven after living such an extraordinary life, and to continue our commitment to good trouble. Good trouble lives on. And certainly it's necessary for such a time as this, as we're navigating our way through an unprecedented assault on all the things that matter, an assault on the economy, on healthcare, on nutritional assistance, on veterans, on children, on older Americans, on the American way of life, on the rule of law, on racial and social justice, and of course, on democracy itself. It's fair to say that what we're seeing is an effort to infuse an authoritarian way of life into American democracy. The thing about John Lewis and Rosa Parks and Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer and our civil rights heroes and foot soldiers is that there's a lot that we can learn from their life, from the life of John Lewis, his character, his conviction, and his courage. They actually faced a form of authoritarianism that existed in this country for hundreds of years in different ways, including in the aftermath of emancipation and the collapse of Reconstruction. Authoritarianism did strike the South. Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, race riots, the Black codes, the rise of the KKK, and a system of oppression directed at African Americans in the South, enforced by the law in ways that were designed to create a violent second-class citizenry. And against all odds, heroes like John Lewis rose up with that character, that courage, and that conviction to push back against that system of oppression, get into good trouble, and make America, at the end of it all, the best version of herself at the time. Not a perfect country, but we're always on that march toward a more perfect union. It was such a great honor to serve with Congressman John Lewis. When I first arrived in the Congress in January of 2013, I went to my first Congressional Black Caucus meeting, and all the legends are there. People like Charlie Rangel and John Conyers and Maxine Waters and Jim Clyburn and Elijah Cummings, Eddie Bernice Johnson, Sheila Jackson Lee, and of course, the great John Lewis. I'm in the room, I'm looking around, and I'm like, how did they let Hakeem Jeffries into this situation? And I still really haven't figured out the answer to it, but it was a great opportunity to serve with legends whose shoulders we stand on, none more prominent than John Lewis. And I never forget the first time I had a conversation with him on the House floor. He called me over. I had just gotten to Congress, and he said, "Young man, are you the new guy?" And I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis, I am." He said, "No, you're a colleague of mine now. You don't have to call me Mr. Lewis. Just call me John." I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis. That's what I'll do." And then he said, "Wait, you from Brooklyn, right?" Now, Katie and Nola, I was tempted to say, Brooklyn is always in the house.
Woot woot.
But it's John Lewis. So I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. Lewis, I'm from Brooklyn." And then I'll never forget what he said. "Well, you know, I've heard some good things about you from your predecessor, Congressman Ed Towns, who served for 30 years. And, you know, I succeeded him in the Congress." He said, "But Washington, D.C. can be a tough place. So, young man, I don't want you to get into any trouble while you're here, unless it's good trouble." And I've never forgotten that. He always urged us, when you see something wrong, when you see injustice, when you see people who are in need, show up, stand up, speak up, and get into good trouble, necessary trouble, so you can, of course, bend that arc of the moral universe toward justice. That charge is still just as relevant. In fact, it takes on a certain higher level of intense urgency because of the extremism that is being unleashed by Donald Trump and this so-called MAGA movement on the American people. But we can take comfort in our ability to get to a better place because John Lewis and those who served with him have given us a formula. Show up, stand up, speak up at all times when you see injustice, and let's continue to go out there and get into good trouble. And when we do, I'm confident that we can end this national nightmare and continue America's march toward a more perfect union. Good trouble lives on. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Leader Jeffries. And I know you're from Brooklyn. And one day I want to talk to you about that new Clips album, though. But I know you represent Brooklyn.
Look forward to it.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both.
So, I mean, folks, I want to underscore something. There is some wackadoo vote stuff going on right now. Down the street, I'm here in Washington, D.C., and there is some stuff going on right now that has been incredibly challenging for our Democrats. So the fact that Congressman Jeffries took the time to be able to meet with us is a significant one. And I want to just say thank you to him for doing this. And look, we're going to take y'all around the world now because it's not just good trouble living on in the United States. We got a lot of people that may not be right here on our soil, but they are still true blue Americans. And they are patriots in and of their own selves. And people like Angela Fobbs, they're going to be able to share with you what it means to get into some good trouble, even if you're not right here on US soil. So, Angela, welcome to Good Trouble Lives On right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening from Germany when it's actually 3 o'clock in the morning here, but
yes.
I'm super glad to be with you this evening. Let me just begin with some powerful words of the late Congressman John Lewis. We had an event also earlier in our days, and we had a big turnout like this too. So, ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting into what I call good trouble, necessary trouble. Voting and participating in the democratic process are key. The vote is the most important nonviolent change agent that you have in a democratic society, and that you must use it because it's not guaranteed. You can lose it. And that is almost what we live by at Democrats Abroad, because Americans abroad are making good trouble too. There are an estimated 9 million Americans living outside the United States. And we're not just sitting around watching from afar, doom scrolling. We're organizing, we're mobilizing, and we're voting. Our voices matter. And the Democrats Abroad is how we make them heard. We are an official arm of the Democratic Party for Americans living overseas with 52 country committees. We just got a new one last month in Turkey. And we have country committees across Europe, America, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and we have members in over 190 countries. And we help all Americans abroad stay engaged, informed, and active. Through our Vote from Abroad website, we assist Americans with registering to vote, requesting their ballots, resolving any issues they might encounter, and if someone is having trouble, we step in. Our mission goes beyond ballots. We defend the right to vote for all Americans abroad. We advocate for our community with lawmakers in Washington, D.C. We build communities of Democrats around the world, and we elect Democrats to every seat we can, from city council to the White House. We also organize for change, from climate action to reproductive rights to gun reform to racial justice. We have 11 global caucuses to bring people together to push more for a more just and inclusive and democratic America. And at this critical moment, we're standing up to the threats posed by Donald Trump and MAGA extremism. And our advocacy teams are mobilizing to resist disinformation, defend voting rights, safeguard the democratic process. Democrats abroad resist. We organize, we vote, and we fight for democracy in every corner of the globe. And I just want to say, I live in Germany. And so I'm fully aware what fascism is. If I walk outside right now, we have something, they have these stones that they put into the concrete where there were Jewish people taken away. And if I walk outside and turn in one direction or the other, I'm going to run into one of these memorials. So it is incredibly important that we mobilize and we do whatever we can to keep what happened in Germany from happening in the United States, although it is already starting with the concentration camps that Trump has built. So we need to do everything that we can to make this stop, because this is probably the most serious time of any of our lives. I don't think we've ever faced a challenge like this. And Americans have to take it seriously, because we could end up just like Germany, where we're executing people and doing all sorts of terrible things. So if you know people who live abroad, if you have a student that's studying abroad, if you just know someone who's thinking about going abroad, let them know about us at democratsabroad.org and make sure they go and request an absentee ballot at votefromabroad.org. So join us, make good trouble, and let's redeem the soul of America together. Thanks.
Angela, people are saying that they wish they looked as good as you at 3 a.m. in the morning from Germany. Amen. I don't know how you look so good at 3 a.m. Because I've had to do some 3 a.m. stuff on TV and I never looked that good. But Angela, all kidding aside, thank you for your advocacy and the work that you're doing because it could be easy to just kind of say, I'm not in America. So what does it make a difference? But you're carrying that tradition of patriotism and making sure that everybody stays activated even when they're not here. So Angela Fobbs, thank you for taking us on a little trip around the world. We're grateful for you.
For having me.
And I second Katie's thanks because you can be doing anything like sleep, but you are here. So thank you so much for persisting and getting to some good trouble at 3 a.m. At 3 a.m. in the morning.
The only kind of trouble at 3 a.m. Nola.
Okay, exactly. So we are going to move right along here. I am fangirling, y'all. I had to tell our next guest and speaker that right before we got started, I was trying to play it cool while we were organizing in the chat and I wasn't saying anything. And then I couldn't hold it in any longer. I don't know about y'all, but Judging Amy was one of my favorite shows on the planet. My mom and I would watch it all the time. And my mom is no longer here. So I tend to, my nostalgia is on 5,000. So to be in a space with Amy Brenneman and to doing this advocacy work, to be doing this activism work, and she's also a fellow Harvard alumni. We can talk about Harvard later. I don't know how I'm feeling about them right now, but anyway. Um, and I just want to say, Judging Amy isn't the only thing that she's been up to from, she's a creative and an advocate. She's done theater, she's done television, she's done films, she's done it all. And also, I'm reading here in your bio, Amy, I don't know if you knew we had this in common, but I went to the divinity school and I see you have a degree in religion, right? And I was a child actor. See how all these things connect?
Oh my
See how
God. It's meant to be. It's meant to be.
it was meant to be. So I'm going to step aside now and welcome the one and only. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here and for using your voice and your platform to get into some good trouble tonight.
It is my honor to be here. And am I going to introduce my amazing conversation partner?
That would be great if you want to.
Okay, all right. Well,
because Karin Schall really doesn't need an intro, but Karin's pretty badass too. But sure, absolutely.
I know. Do you have her bio? Because I can do it, or you can do it, or anyway.
We're happy to spend the time. Listen, please just go ahead. I mean,
okay, I will frame this conversation. First of all, it's like the fact that I am speaking at all proximate to Hakeem Jeffries. I'm just like literally flummoxed. And so many and Katie and Nola and thank you to all the organizers. And yeah, so this is a little change of gear. Like I am an art maker. I'm a creative. So the way I metabolize my life, the way I metabolize what's going on outside is to create something with it. And Nola mentioned Judging Amy. My mother was in the first class of women at Harvard Law School. She was the third female judge on the bench in the state of Connecticut. And she and I came up with that show together. And she always says, she could be like, writing articles and for years and years and years, but somehow the stories and making them palatable actually communicated a lot of what her life's work was. So that was one of the honors of my life. So we're going to be talking about art making and kind of what I think of this as trickster energy, right? How do we kind of have fun, literally metabolize what's going on, but also create some expression that may touch other people as well. So I'm going to bring on Karin, who is a Chalktivist, and you
love that title, Chalktivist.
I know. And so she is kind of my new hero. We have all these mutual friends, as tends to happen. So what have you been up to?
Well, I'm hot and sweaty wearing my Good Trouble t-shirt today because I did come from the downtown New York City rally in March, which was hot and wonderful and beautiful and really powerful, and with so many people that showed up to be in service of today and to cause a little good trouble. We marched around the courthouse buildings and then left flowers and signs in front of the building that currently has ICE agents and people who are being detained. So while everyone else is looking beautiful and glowy, and I basically threw on a little bit of lipstick, and I'm in my good trouble.
Good. You
today.
look good, Karin.
Okay,
Don't you worry. You look good.
Okay, thanks. So Amy, let's have a little conversation. And I have to say, I am not an actress. I am in the arts, but like administratively. But I don't paint, I don't draw, I don't do anything. What I figured out to do is I'm an angry gal with a piece of chalk. And that's kind of where I've been and using my creative energies as part of the resistance. And just as an outlet of my hope and rage and determination and leaving messages on sidewalks of New York City for people to think about and to absorb and to maybe take a photo and to share and to have conversations. That's kind of where I'm coming from. So I'm just really so excited to be part of this evening and this community and all of you in the chats that are just coming from all over the place, including the person from New Hampshire. That's where I grew up. So hi, everybody.
So let's see if we can bring up some of your slides so people can get a visual. What I love about what you just said is I don't think of it as art as much as creative, right? Some of the creative, I love the Resistance Revival Chorus. I love puppets. I love, I don't know if you heard about these tow truck owners in LA who are, these ICE agents that sort of think they can park anywhere, and the tow truck people are saying, no, they can't. And they're towing. I think wherever we are, we can make a choice to use our kind of creative muscle and not be paralyzed. So this is incredible. I remember in our chat, you said that you between home and work, you would pass the Trump Tower in New York, and that became a place for you to write some messages.
There's some samples. Thank you, Geronimo, for posting some slides of these. Thank you.
And then as you're doing it, what is the experience? Because I think the other thing about art making and creative expression is it's a public event. So are people appreciative? Do you get into conversation? What is the actual, because I'm one of those weird actresses that's actually a little shy. Like, what is the actual experience like to chalk?
I am a shy extrovert, or whatever the opposite of that is, but I too am that. I think in the morning. Oh, thank you, Charm. Yes, so there's only 5 slides, so we won't keep going. But I think about like the messaging kind of that I want to bring to the world that day, and oftentimes it's some piece of news or something that I've been reading or hearing about, and then things that are fitting for in front of the Trump Hotel at Columbus Circle in New York, like a chalkable message. And sometimes it's one word, and sometimes it's a few words, and sometimes there's a swear word or two. And I'm aware of my surroundings, number one. I have conversations with people. 99% of the time, it's a positive message, or someone just wants to talk about what it is what I'm writing at the moment. Ever so often, there's someone who doesn't like what I write. And I would say, like in the last couple of years, instead of just yelling and swearing at them, which was my go-to, which really was my go-to, I'm now stopping, and I just really want to have conversations. And I ask people, like, let's talk about why do you think Trump is a great guy? Let's have this conversation. And oftentimes they are not in a place where they want to be talking about it. But I'm very present when I'm chalking. Part of it is I'm not going to be an idiot, and I want to be safe and know what my surroundings are. But I also just want to be open to the conversations that I'm having.
And what I love about this so much, and I think it's in the chat. We're gonna when we close out this section, we're gonna do a little creative work. Um, listen, I'm a creative, so for me, creative energy is just like eating good food and exercising. It's just part of how we metabolize our experiences as human beings, but it also communicates to others. And there's also the fun factor. So as we talk about the kind of long haul that we all have to band together to sort of dig ourselves out of, and I love calling my reps. I love 5 calls, don't get me wrong, but it's like I want to have a little bit more fun, right? So it's like, oh, I brought a cowbell to the No Kings, and I was like super happy. And like somebody brought a bugle. I was like, she's like, I haven't played this since high school. It's like, what? I often go to marches and think the art could be a little bit better. Like the art makers are sort of waking up, and you are sort of chief among them. So I feel like the fun factor will help us sustain, right? Just like community helps us sustain. Very, very hard. It is quite literally for me the opposite of being isolated on my phone and doom scrolling, right? When I'm out in the world, I have a body, I see other people, and honestly, I'm not alone, right? If the whole thing, one of the reasons we're here is to move from isolation to community, move from despair toward a little faith. We understand now, I understand now that authoritarianism, flourishes in paralysis and isolation, right? So creative acts, communal creative acts is sort of literally the opposite big medicine of that. So Karin and I had this goofy idea, and I'll wrap it up because I know we're on the clock. Anybody that wants to, I have my floppy journal, right? How should we do this, Karin? How about like everybody write a message and then hold it up to the camera? And because one of the things we thought, if you're not into chalking, it's also really powerful to put something in your window, and just especially if you're in a city, and it's a beautiful way to communicate to a wider community. Is that a good idea?
I love that. And also people in the chat, we can't see you, but put your message and things that, like Amy prompted me in a conversation earlier of like, what gives you hope? And what are, for me, it's like, what are the things that you care about? And whether it's LGBTQ issues, whether it's democracy, whether it's abortion rights, all of those things together are the things that your honesty will come out in the emotions. Also, like I wear these bracelets. These are like, the Taylor Swifty bracelets that people made me, and one that says F Trump, and the other one says 8647. And I just wear these every single day. And that in and of itself is a tiny bit of resistance that every single day is just a reminder to be doing something. So I don't expect everyone to be able to bend down over on a sidewalk and chalk. And also just to pause here, I recognize I am a gray-haired white woman in this country, and that comes with the sense that I'm both invisible and I have some privilege here, and I need to use my body and my experience and my privilege and my, honestly, I guess we can swear here, I just don't give a fuck anymore. And that's where I'm coming from. I just don't. So I'm here to keep doing this, and let's just keep moving forward together, because a lot of people can't do that, and I can. So
I love you, Karin. All right, here's what we're going to do. It's going to take 30 seconds. Anybody that wants to write something down and hold it up, or put it, if you have paper, great. And if you want to put it, what gives you hope and why you're here. Ready? Go.
And if y'all want to, that are tuning in, y'all can put it in the chat too. I mean, if you are going to put it on a piece of paper and y'all want to put it in the chat, you can do that too. And that will envision what you drop in the chat on a piece of paper. So Amy.
What's yours? I can't see.
This group gives me hope.
Oh, that's good.
Thanks.
Right.
Bravery is contagious.
Yeah.
Karin, waiting for a curse word because I'm a fellow profane person. So I was looking
Oh,
for
Aubrey's got one. Okay. Anybody else?
I got mine.
Okay.
Be a founding fighter.
Yeah.
Founding fathers, be a founding fighter. I stole this from Representative Jamie Raskin. He shared
Yes.
me
Yes.
earlier tonight.
Yes.
Wow, we got some good ones in the chat. Does this ass make my country look small? Oh, that's a good
I've
one.
also I
That's a
also
good
have
one.
come to refer to number 47 as convicted felon Trump. I didn't make it up, but I just think like just always referring that
That's what I do. I always
yeah.
call him convicted felon
I think
Donald.
I got that from you, lady.
Oh, you
Anyway,
did?
I love this group so much. And Karin, we also had this, we're gonna wrap it up, but we had this idea too, all of us acolytes of Karin, like maybe there can be like 1 week where we all chalk or play with the same phrase, or the creatives are on fire. The creatives, so we will, there's the smart people, there's the strategists, and then us like crazy creatives are there to serve as well.
And can I just as an aside, just before you go chalking, and I would love the whole country to go chalking, but look up your local vandalism laws first, and what public versus private property is. Just I put that out there. I live in a city where the sidewalks of New York are considered public. I'm oftentimes chalking in front of a place, and the security guard will come outside and say that you can't do that. And I know what is considered public versus private, but a lot of communities out there around this country, I get messages from people saying that they chalked in their driveway and a neighbor called to rat them out. So please just look that up first before you go do that.
But you can always post a little message in your window for your neighbors.
Yep.
So,
That's true. And as
thank you
a
for so
lawyer,
much for being
Karin, I
here.
appreciate that. I appreciate
Katie.
that the legal liability waiver. But for those of you that are tuning in, though, before we say goodbye to Amy, excuse me, Amy and Karin, we're dropping people's socials in the chat for our speakers. So please go and follow them.
Absolutely.
Because we can maybe get a bunch of people to do Amy's idea of maybe 1 week, Karin, you inspire us to do a certain message, and across the world, we all go with our chalk legally. I don't have enough bond money to bond all you guys out. And we go with our chalk and we go and we do this, and then we can post on socials everything that we're doing. That would be amazing. And my just last 2 cents on this would be this. The convicted felon Donald Trump and the feckless Republicans, they want to destroy democracy. What I love about what we have just experienced with the two of you is creating something. So in this darkness of people wanting to destroy, we will step forward and we will create something. And that's incredibly special. So we're very grateful, Amy Brenneman and Karin Schall, for taking the time to bring this into this space tonight.
It's an honor.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
to be here. Let's just keep doing this.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Karin. And I just want to say one quick thing about what you're doing and why it's so important. One of the things that attracted people to the Black Panther Party was the art and their newsletter. That's a little that fact isn't as known. So activism has always been full circle, not with just the words, but with also the illustrations. So I love this call to action. I love this homework assignment that we all go out there and get into some good trouble, do some chalktivism, and then we post it on social media. And that is our homework assignment. That is our good trouble homework assignment, y'all. Like, I love this. And we can hashtag it. It can go viral. I love all of this. Thank you.
I'm going to dispatch my feisty
Thank
10-year-old. I'll
you.
say,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
And now that we've had that moment of creativity, we're going to continue it, but in a different space. We're going to invite right now Reggie Hubbard, the founder and chief serving officer. And I love that, Reggie, the chief serving officer of Active Peace. And so, Reggie, let the people that are tuning in know why, especially when you feel the pressure of just how tough everything is right now, that it's just as important to find your own sense of activation and engagement, sometimes by centering who you are.
Well, first things first, this is what gives me hope. Like, this is a picture of me.
Yes.
John Lewis 20 years ago, actually. So that I'm still relevant in politics 20 years later, that gives me hope. So thank you for that. And, you know, the quick answer is you can't give what you don't have, right? So if you're depleted and angry and all over the place, how is that a value add to what we're trying to create?
Speak on it.
You know what I mean? So, and to be real about it, you're using the tools of the oppressor to take yourself down. Stop. Stop it. They want you to be all over the place. They want you to be angry. They want you to be so pissed that you don't have creative resilience to see past their bullshit and do what we need to do anyway. So taking a moment for yourself gets you in touch with your creativity, which is in dire need right now.
How do we do that? How do we do this, Reggie? Show us the way. Tell you, it is not that easy for some of us.
Yeah.
That I wake up seething, Reggie. So
Well,
I need to know. I need some help from you.
I respect that and I appreciate that. If a 50-year-old black male operative is talking to you about peace, first of all, the stuff works. Like, like if a 50-year-old black man is telling you about peace, honey, you should listen to that brother because he ain't bullshitting you. I've been mad from the womb, right? So for me to talk to you about meditation, holler, first of all. And second of all, it's just an honor to be here with y'all in beloved community and in honor of the elder who always talked about getting in good trouble. And you can't get into good trouble if you're feeling bad, number one. And number two, like for the Harvard Div and the Harvard Religious Studies, Yale existential philosophy in the house. Like, so what's up, creative?
Okay.
Fellow Yale too, so I don't want to hear about that.
No. So, what I want to do is just offer a few words, and then we're going to take a couple breaths, and then we're going to move on. Because I also want to show you how simple it is. And Amy, for you, like, I wanted to give you this. You can't have all these gongs. She said cowbell.
I just love a bell. I just love a bell.
Yep. So we're living in outrageous times, y'all. And plenty of us have righteous anger about this sinful agenda and the cruelty in chief and his heartless enablers. And I'm not here to tell you to not be angry, but to encourage you to find a way to invest your anger in the aims that you seek. Investing anger into more anger is a diminishing return, right? But investing anger to fuel your compassion, your resilience, and your creativity is a page out of the Civil Rights Handbook that we need to revisit. So let anger fuel your love of humanity and justice and inspire others to do the same. Because our struggle is as much physical, mental, and spiritual as it is philosophical or political. So honor your body, rest your mind, and nourish your spirit. So I want you all to give the shoulders a bit of a twirl, because you've probably been hunched over a phone. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Inhale what you hope for. Exhale out the mouth any worry that you have. Stop. Feel a little bit better? Let's take that the next step further. Put your hands together. Create a little friction. We as the movement have forgotten that friction is essential. You got to rub up against some stuff. Friction ain't bad. You got to play with this puppy. And you've probably been typing too much on your phone. So rub those hands together a little bit more. Inhale what you hope for. Exhale what you're worried about. Now rub on your hands and give the hands a little bit of love. Because what did they do to be treated like shit? Your hands deserve better. Last one. Friction again. Some of y'all didn't hear me. We need to re-embrace friction. They're coming at us with dumb shit. Let's come at them with awesome. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out the lips. Hands on the heart. These are heartbreaking times, but when you express heartbreak in community, notice how it lightens. There are 420 people on this call who are sharing a moment of peace together. How beautiful is that? So peace be with you. Blessing on Elder John Lewis and all lovers of freedom, justice, mercy, and healing. And thank you for the chance to share. I hope that you see how quick that was, how your mood changed. And I will close my session with this bell. This bell is 250 years old. Older than the United States. Older than any of this bullshit that they talking now. I'm going to play it twice. Once to clear the air, two to give hope to anything that you dream about. May it be blessed by this sound. Peace be with you. Thank you.
It's like I don't even want to move on, Reggie. I could spend
That was so special.
I could spend so much more time with you. That was incredibly nourishing. And what's incredible, Reggie, is how far you yourself have come to be able to be with us right now and to spend this time with us, Reggie. We are in awe. We truly are in awe.
Absolutely.
My honor.
And I got to tell you, someone who's done Pilates and yoga for a very, very long time, recently moved from California. I'm actually not one to kind of enjoy the very kind of performative meditation sort of things that happen all the time. I genuinely enjoyed this. It was fun. It was real. And I felt connected to all these 400 plus people that I don't even know in this room. And I'm not that kind of person. So, Reggie, thank you for being you and not doing that performative stuff that some folks in the wellness space do. Like, I'm being very honest about that. Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. It's
And
totally true.
I think thank you, Reggie. And we have a cleansing moment. We're going to pivot back to politics really quickly. We are going to talk to, we needed that cleansing moment.
I know. We're ready. We're ready to go.
Bring on the Secretary of State. So I'm very honored to introduce Secretary Shenna Lee Bellows, Secretary of State of Maine, who is also gubernatorial candidate for 2026. I'm going to read her bio because I think it deserves a little, we need to bring out her receipts too. A civil rights advocate. You may best know Secretary Bellows as the 50th Secretary of State of Maine, the first woman to hold this position. She gained national attention in December 2023 when ruling that Donald Trump was ineligible for Maine's Republican primary ballot due to his role in the January 6th insurrection. Thank you for your courage. Secretary Bellows ran against Susan Collins for U.S. Senate and ran a campaign for marriage equality in Maine. Secretary Bellows previously served in the Maine Senate while continuing her role as Executive Director of the Holocaust and Human Rights Center of Maine. She also has been Executive Director of the American Civil Liberties Union of Maine and as well as field organizer of the ACLU in Washington, D.C. She has served in AmeriCorps and the Peace Corps. In March 2025, she announced her candidacy for the governor of Maine in the 2026 Maine gubernatorial election. You have receipts, Secretary Bellows.
Thank you, Nola. I am so honored and humbled to be in this room. And honestly, I could have stayed with Reggie for the next couple of hours. And I think doing that exercise again may help me sleep. In dark times, we need sleep. But I'm here tonight not as Secretary of State or Democratic candidate for governor, but as all of you are, an American who loves my country with all of its flaws. And I want to talk about the SAVE Act and a call to action. The SAVE Act and courage, because we all know the reason we're here. And I was at a rally earlier today in person in Brunswick, Maine. We had hundreds of people with art and signs and a band. It was really inspiring. But we know that America is going through dark times and that we've got this federal government that is hell-bent on hurting and humiliating the most vulnerable in our society. Yesterday, a friend of mine, a Vietnam vet, asked me in all seriousness, he said, are we going to have elections in 2026? And of course, the answer is yes, as long as we ensure and make it so. Because make no mistake, there are people in Washington, House of Representatives, who is trying to reshape our democracy to exclude Americans, to turn us back. And the SAVE Act is what I want to talk about tonight briefly, because it's a dangerous tool which would do exactly that. So very briefly, what would the SAVE Act do? 3 things. It would require all voters to prove their American citizenship in person when registering or updating their voter registration. It would require them to show specific documentation like a passport or a birth certificate. It would have the effect of disenfranchising tens of a million American voters because right now, more than 21 million citizens lack these basic documents. So, you introduced me as the Secretary of State who ruled that Donald Trump did engage in an insurrection and wasn't qualified for the ballot. I still think I was right. But in Maine, most people know me because my name is on their driver license. I run the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, no joke. And I've had to implement the Real ID. And I share this because I have had to, people who come to get their Real ID have to show their citizenship or their legal status. Well, new Mainers, they usually have their documentation together. It is married women, 85% of whom change their name when they get married. They have to show us their birth certificate if they don't have a passport, but they also have to show us their marriage certificate. Imagine trying to remember your marriage certificate, and God help you if you've been divorced and changed your name multiple times. When you go to vote, you'd have to bring your birth certificate and your marriage certificate as well. We see it impacting senior citizens who've lost their documents. In Maine, we see it with senior citizens who were born in Canada but are American citizens. We see it with transgender Mainers, anybody else that's changed their name. They have enormous difficulty proving their citizenship, and we're seeing it this summer in lines at the BMV. So, you're probably ready to log off or scream if you hear contact your senator one more time, right? It feels hopeless sometimes. And in some ways, what's happening right now is designed to make us feel hopeless. For the first time in our lives, people are wondering whether the America as we know it is going to survive. But I want to go back to John Lewis and close here, because this was true for John Lewis too. If you were an African American fighting for civil rights in Alabama in 1965, there wasn't a lot of hope. The government, not only the government, but the society and the culture were working together to keep you down. And also, there were attack dogs and fire hoses and angry people, including in uniform, armed to the teeth. And in that Freedom March, where John Lewis was only 25 years old and one of the leaders on that march from Selma to Montgomery, they expected opposition, but they didn't expect to be attacked by state troopers and law enforcement. And John Lewis had his skull fractured. We all remember that. He was hospitalized. He nearly died. But what did he do when he got out of the hospital? He went back to the march, not because they necessarily thought they would win, but because it was the moral imperative and where they had to be. And I think that's really important in these times, to keep showing up at the march, no matter the cost, to keep speaking truth, even when it's hopeless, because that itself is the embodiment of good trouble. It's having the faith and the optimism to live, not limited by the world that is, but guided how the world should be. And in Maine, here's another special thing about Maine. Every citizen has the right to vote. I do voter registration in Maine State Prison because incarcerated people have the right to vote. Every citizen has the right to vote. Our own walls are preventing our wins. We've got to break down the barriers in our movement. We have to cultivate courage, think about how to build a more inclusive, more equitable democracy. So courage is finding a way to stop this bill. Don't let them reshape our democracy. Everyone here, we need to find our peace. We need to find our fight. We need to stand up for the powerless, even when the odds are overwhelming, and fight for justice, even when it seems like justice is impossible. Fear, and there's a lot of fear right now. Fear is temporary. Courage is forever. And I'm just going to close with a quote from John Lewis, when he went back to that march. He said, "When you lose your sense of fear, you are free. I felt liberated. I felt like I had crossed over." So let's find our courage. Let's cross over. I'm putting a call to action in the chat. I hope that we will have the courage to keep moving forward.
That is amazing. Secretary, I want to actually say I covered the breaking news when you did decide to take that act of courage. As a lawyer, I thought it was particularly inspiring. And at a time when political violence has become the norm for Republicans, for you to have the courage to do your own version of good trouble and to show that the law must be followed, and if people are honest about reading the law exactly the way that the statutes have been written, then there really should not have been convicted felon Donald Trump on the ballot for 2024. But thank you so much, Secretary of State. And those of you that can support her, she is running for governor of the great state of Maine. So show your support and please read up on the SAVE Act, because that is a critical piece of legislation that threatens to disenfranchise us in very bad ways. So thank you, Secretary of State. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we're going to switch gears and we're going to go into the tech world, which for me is always intimidating. But when I think about the creativity and the way of generating good trouble by way of an app, you might ask yourself, Katie, what the hell are you talking about? So I'm going to introduce our next guest. Our next guest is Aubrey Ottenstein, the co-founder and CEO of Globally. And she has been responsible for the successful launch of an app that's going to change the way that we look at how we get into good trouble and how we stay engaged and activated, which is my favorite phrase of the day. So Aubrey, thank you. And let us know, how do we do any of this with an app?
Well, thank you for the question. And I'm so honored to be with all of you tonight. This is such an inspiration and a reminder that the mobilization is happening. People are activated. People are coming together to fight the good fight, to make good trouble, and to really stand up for what we believe in and what's right. I have a couple slides just to help you all visualize what this looks like, if we can pull those up. And the backstory is that this moment requires a full court press. It requires people to march, to organize, most importantly, to vote. But it also requires people to contact Congress and pressure their elected leaders around bills like the SAVE Act to make sure that their voices are being heard in the halls of Congress every single day. And so what we've built at Hilltop is trying to make that piece of the full court press accessible, frictionless, and easy and quick. So we'll hit the next slide. So I built Hilltop with my friend and my partner, Kristen, based on my personal experience as a Hill staffer, answering those phone calls, knowing, how archaic the system is, in partnership with both the House and the Senate Web Services team, so that we can drop voter messages directly into the Capitol Hill CRM system, or their constituent services system. And with feedback from offices in the House, the Senate, the Digital Services office, and the administration committee. So full scope of, what's not working on the Hill and how can we make it better using modern technology. So we'll hit the next slide. So the result of that are 3 current products. The first one is Civic, which is direct to voter. It's issue agnostic, party agnostic. Anyone can use it anytime on any issue. You start by typing in what you care about. It could be 3 sentences. It could be 3 paragraphs. AI will help you draft an actionable message, and it will actually tie it to active legislation where you can hit for or oppose. So when it gets dropped into your legislator's office, their CRM system, it is already coded and tagged and organized in a way that's actionable and takes out all of that manual labor that Hill staffers are doing. So it's instant and it's frictionless for you. It takes about 30 seconds. What we're trying to do is create an alternative approach to the 7 to 10 minute phone call that people are encouraged to make and still encouraged to make, but often it becomes an intimidation factor, a busy factor. If we can make it faster, if we can make it easier, and if we can make it more targeted, it's going to be more effective. So what we've also done is we've taken the same technology, and we'll hit the next slide, and we're applying it to advocacy groups. So, for example, an organization that wants to mobilize their community around opposing the SAVE Act, they can create a customized platform that has a trained LLM, large language model, that helps voters draft messages that are informed by statistics, informed by current events, and again, actionable, tied to real legislation, and submitted directly to Capitol Hill's constituent services system. The third tool that we're using right now is Civic for community leaders, and we'll hit the next slide. And Nola and I actually have partnered on this. She was one of my first pilot partners in terms of community leaders and community voices mobilizing their following around specific issues. And so in this scenario, somebody who, might be a community organizer, might be a content creator, an influencer who has a broad reach of community and persuasion, they can create their own platforms just like an advocacy group could, where they have a trained LLM, they have AI bill matching, and they have the AI auto draft that really bridges that civic education divide. So you really don't have to know who are your elected officials. It automates with your geolocation. Or you can edit the address if you're outside of your voting district. You don't need to know what the active legislation is, because your message will type it and then it will pull the legislation, and you can read about those bills through the app. And you don't even need to know how to structure a message to Capitol Hill or speak DC language. The AI does it for you. It takes 30 seconds and you hit send, and you can do it every day. You can do it multiple times a day, and it is meant to mobilize en masse and push Congress to represent their constituents as they want to be represented. And so I hope you all will try it. I'll drop the links in here. It's free for everyone. It's free for the voters. It's free for the messages to be transmitted. We're just trying to move voices to Capitol Hill all day, every day, and with as much speed and momentum as possible. So that's what we're building with Hilltop and Civic, and excited for you all to try it. If you have ideas for organizations that might want to use it, would love introductions. We're working hard to get voters heard on Capitol Hill effectively.
This is incredible. And it's just, we're all for efficiency. And unlike Elon Musk and Doge with their bullshit excuse of trying to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, we have an actual good use of technology to make a difference. And so, Aubrey, Nola, I know that you guys already have an existing connection. And I just want to say thank you, Nola, for getting us to be able to spend this time with Aubrey this evening.
Absolutely. And Aubrey, I am so happy we were able to make this happen. I have been thinking about ways to get more people talking and knowing about Hilltop since we first met. And I'm just so happy that we were able to make this happen.
You're the best. I really appreciate it. What an inspiring event this is. I'm so grateful to be in the virtual room with all of you.
Talk to you later, girl.
Thanks.
All right, who do we have up next, Katie?
We have someone very, very cool. We have who's that? I don't know. Who do we have up next?
We have Ijen up next, the co-founder and president of National Domestic Workers Alliance, who is an award-winning organizer, writer, and leading voice in the women's movement. So we are so happy to have you here in this space. I've actually heard the founder of Persist, Rhonda Fox, talk about you quite a bit. So I'm really happy to actually see you like kind of virtually face to face now. And I'm just really excited for you to talk about the work that you're doing and why it is so important for women to be part of this movement, especially in a time where we are living, where people are trying to undo the kind of identity politics that is necessary. Because I think there is some identity politics that is performative. And then I also believe that there's identity politics that are absolutely necessary. And speaking up and standing up for women's rights are always necessary, right? And so share with us some of the amazing things that you're doing and how you are getting into some good trouble.
Well, thank you so much, Nola and Katie. It's so exciting to be with all of you today. I am an organizer of family caregivers and care workers, like domestic workers, for almost 30 years now. People whose care makes everything else possible in our lives and in our country. And shout out to all the caregivers who are tuning in tonight. We see you and we are fighting for you. The great Congressman John Lewis was a hero of the domestic workers movement. In 1963, at the March on Washington, he declared that we need a bill to ensure the equality of a maid who earns $5 a week. And this was groundbreaking. It was 50 years before we won the first ever law protecting domestic worker rights in New York State. He was one of our biggest champions, and we miss him so much. And I couldn't be more proud to be with all of you tonight to honor his legacy, especially when we need his example more than ever. And it is hard to even wrap our heads around the depth of cruelty and betrayal that is happening right now, from the millions of children and workers who will lose their health care to the millions of disabled and older people who will lose their care and support, to the thousands of jobs in healthcare that we're going to lose as a result of this big, ugly bill, to the millions who will lose their food assistance, and the thousands of families who will be devastated by family separation because of the supercharged ICE raids that are happening right now. But we know, and Mr. Lewis would say, giving up is not an option. He would say, we've got to find a way to get in the way. And that's what we're doing here today. And we have to be relentless about it. And so in that spirit, I want to leave you all with some information about another opportunity to make good trouble. On Saturday, July 26th, families of all kinds in every corner of the country are coming together for Families First, a nationwide day of family-friendly, peaceful action. It's just days before the 60th anniversary of Medicaid and Medicare. It's on the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we're going to show up in all 50 states to show our care for one another, to stand up for one another, and show that we're just going to continue to fight. We are not going away. There are already over 100 events in nearly every state. You can find an event near you at familiesfirstnow.org. And if there isn't one in your community, there's also an option to host one yourself. And we would welcome all of you persisters to host an event. And I just hope we can count on each of you, I know we can, to continue to mobilize, to spread the word to friends, family, neighbors, to help get the word out in the next 10 days on July 26th and beyond. We've got to keep making good trouble. So see you all on July 26th, and thank you so much for coming together tonight. It was so good for my soul to be with all of you tonight. Back to you,
Jen,
Nola and Katie.
before you leave, I'm going to plug your book and I'm going to plug your podcast. I want everyone to know that you have a celebrated book called The Age of Dignity, Preparing for the Elder Boom in a Changing America, and you co-host Sunstorm with the amazing Alicia Garza. So I just wanted to make sure we got that out there because we want people to support all of the things. So we're going to get that link up there. And thank you so much for all the work that you do. I was a caregiver for many, many years. So this is definitely an issue very close to my heart. Thank you again.
I also want to recognize, as a fellow member of our AAPI community, how incredibly proud I am for your advocacy. And as somebody who also spent a long time as a caregiver for my late father, I love the idea that part of community means taking care of each other. Because really, why else are we doing this? Why are we spending the time that we are, unless we are going to take care of each other? So I'm very grateful for you also inspiring this group that's here right now to know that there's still more to come, that it wasn't just No Kings, and it's not just Good Trouble Lives On, that we have Families First coming up. And this is exactly the kind of John Lewis Good Trouble energy that we have to perpetuate. If we could do this every day, folks, we would do it every day. But in the meantime, knowing that we have another significant event coming up on a nationwide level inspires us to continue to get into good trouble. So thank you so much for being here, Agent Pugh. It was just fantastic.
Absolutely. And Katie, I think, we haven't even talked about our own shows. You have 800 shows, and we both have shows.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not busy. What are you talking about? Yeah, so just for 1 second before a point of personal privilege for myself and for Dr. Nola Haynes before we get to our last guest. Yes, I do have a show on YouTube. It's on the Katie Phang News channel. And after leaving mainstream legacy media, which, by the way, for those of you that have been on tonight, you might not have caught the bad news that CBS has canceled the Stephen Colbert Show. So it will only run and then it'll be done. And when I see things like that and I see those types of headlines, I'm incredibly grateful that I've now found a space in independent media and journalism. I like to say on my shows that we have to meet the urgency of the moment with the urgency of our message. And in order to do that, we have to bring our full authentic selves when we talk about what's at stake. So I also like to say that you may not like my language sometimes, but you should like my message, because what I'm trying to do is spread the truth. I am a truth teller, and being from the law has allowed me the luxury of being able to traffic in facts and in evidence. And that is definitely a shortage of which we find on the other side of the aisle with the Republicans. And so I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also to follow me on other social media places. But I'm incredibly proud of the work that I do with the Persist Network for Wait a Damn Minute. I was inspired to want to combat the disinformation and misinformation from, I call her Bullshit Barbie, Caroline Leavitt. With her convenient crosses, her as well as the Trump administration and the GOP. And I thought it was important to do that. And when I had this idea, I took it to Persist. And within a hot second, we were able to do what we do, which is almost every day we produce Wait a Damn Minute, where we try to, where we debunk and we provide the truth. To give clarity to the lies. And listen, it's hitting home to a lot of people. And so I appreciate all of you in your support, because that really does help me keep on. So, and Nola, you also have a pretty kick-ass show yourself.
Yeah, barring all the tech problems, and I think we finally have solved all the issues. But Katie, I want to say something to you specifically. You are something that James Baldwin referred to as a witness. It is a biblical term, people that witness history, that oralize it or writes about it, and that's who you are. You have witnessed so many different things in your career. You stand up for justice, and I can't think of another person that deserves that moniker more than you. So I just wanted to throw you your flowers and say thank you for being that witness, um, because you do incredible work. I'm still trying to get to the cussing part. I mean, I cuss like a sailor in my everyday life, but I'm still in these national security foreign policy streets every day. And
Well, I haven't been cursing in court, although at this rate I might be getting there, because I am filing and I am doing litigation against this administration right now. So trust me, I feel you. I understand
it's
what
well deserved. It is well deserved. But before we get to the amazing Dr. Whitaker, I just want to plug my show, which is we're calling Persist Originals. My show is called Nightcap with Dr. Nola, and it live streams every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on Persist Instagram, also Persist YouTube. You can follow me on Substack at Nola Haynes. I'm everywhere at Nola Haynes. I kept it real simple for y'all. Kept it real simple for y'all. So I just wanted to we needed to get that in because we were people in backstage were telling us to get that in, so we wanted to make sure. So follow Persist on all of their social media. Follow Moms Rising on all of their social media. Follow West Coast Women Forward on all of their social media. And we really appreciate all of you. And with that, Katie, do you want to introduce Dr. Whitaker?
it would be an honor and a privilege to be able to do this. Doctor, and I want to emphasize the doctor part of this is like my Dr. Nola Haynes, Dr. Matthew Whitaker, because somebody has definitely earned that title. Founder and the CEO of Diamond Strategies LLC, an award-winning firm that specializes in organizational development, equal opportunity, social responsibility, community engagement, and conflict resolution. Dr. Whitaker, we could definitely use that conflict resolution right now. Dr. Whitaker is also the executive director of the George Washington Carver Museum and Cultural Center in Phoenix, Arizona, for you folks out there that are watching from Arizona. He's also the founder of the Center for the Study of Race and Democracy at Arizona State University, where he was a professor of history for 15 years. Dr. Whitaker is also the author of Race Work, The Rise of Civil Rights on the American West, and of the forthcoming Undisputed Truth, A Millennial Journey to Black Manhood. Dr. Whitaker, it is an honor to have you be the final speaker for our incredible Good Trouble Lives On virtual session tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It is a tremendous honor to be able to close things out. Thank you. Thank you to Barbara. Thank you to Jeremy for asking me to participate. I am so uplifted by tonight. I feel as though I've been given soul food. And to be honest with you, like many of you, I came into this a little forlorn, hoping for some inspiration, but not particularly optimistic about it, not because of this particular group, but with everything that has befallen us. So I am going to take this 5 minutes that I have to, in some ways, summarize what's been said and the more salient points, because a lot of wonderful things have been said, so I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel. And I'm going to do that by beginning with 3 quotes. Number 1, I think it's going to be required for us to engage in a little less navel gazing and a little less whining and being in a fetal position. And it's going to require Democrats to just toughen up. That is the former President Barack Obama. Number 2, honor is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fun, familiar, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. That is the dynamic Brene Brown. And finally, one of my favorite historical figures, Frederick Douglass, told us, power concedes nothing without demand. I think these are really important, and I provided these quotes because I firmly believe that the best way that we honor Congressman Lewis on this day and going forward is to understand that, number 1, rattlesnakes don't commit suicide and ball players don't strike themselves out. You got to put them out. We just cannot sit around and hope for the best. We have to be tougher. This requires the courage that Brene Brown was talking about, not the absence of fear, because all of us experience anxiety, dread, fear, albeit some of us more than others, particularly if you're living at the intersection of all sorts of peril and trouble and terror. It is, however, doing what's necessary in the face of fear that is a requisite for the struggle before us. And we are in a serious struggle. In many ways, we are still fighting the Civil War by proxy. We are still adjudicating the American Indian movement. We're still adjudicating the women's movement, the LGBTQ plus movement. This is the end game. And we have to be aware of that. So there are times when we will be tired, when we will want to curl up in our beds and avoid what is ultimately necessary, which is confrontation, civil disobedience, and, as Martin Luther King said, the willingness to lose a friend, to challenge a family member, to lose a job, to risk one's 401k. And I'm telling you right now, family, if you're losing sleep over your 401k, the enemy has already won. And I don't make the mean light of this. Martin Luther King had to pay bills too. Ida B. Wells Barnett had to pay bills too, right? And many of our elders, particularly those that preceded my mother's generation, the only thing that they had to lose was the sanctity of their own bodies and their lives. They didn't have material things to lose. They were worried about going straight into transition to the other world and being sent there through unsolicited means. So, because ultimately it's not about us as individuals, it's about the sacredness of freedom, the ability of the collective to live equitably, and for our progeny to inherit the Republican democracy that we did. So how do we do all of that? By conquering our fears, by showing the courage that's necessary. The fear is not going to go away. We just need to do what we need to do anyway. We need to engage in nonviolent resistance and civil disobedience. And if we have elected leaders who are not willing to do that as well, we are fighting an uphill battle. As a historian, I just have to tell you that some of the leaders that were at the forefront of every movement that transitioned and brought us to a point of where we thought was equality in the United States, you had somebody who was willing to do what was necessary. So I would suggest us to not support elected officials who are unwilling to do what we need to do. We need to divest from private institutions that enable inequity and autocracy. Redirect our funds, meager as they may be. My grandmother was a housekeeper. It was pennies, dimes, and quarters that bankrolled the civil rights movement. So to the extent that we have some funds, we need to spread those funds to underrepresented institutions and those that are under fire. We need to work strategically with like-minded leaders and organizations that are doing the visible and unseen work. Unseen work is just as important as marching, resisting, and being civically disobedient. I have to indicate that. Good trouble is dynamic, right? And we have to let the young people lead without being micromanaged, right? For alphas and Zs, those that preceded them, we have to learn how to do a better job of getting out of the way, because those are going to be the foot soldiers for what needs to be done. More than anything, please let the reality that we are on the precipice of democracy's demise drive us. This is urgent. And I think everybody on the call knows that. We need to be able to impress upon everyone around us how urgent this is. Furthermore, we can run, but we can't hide. Eventually, they're going to come after all of us, anyone who resists. So anyone who might think that they're safe at this particular point might want to rethink that, and they might need us to help them understand why that is and what that looks like. So the decisions that we make must not be rooted in fear for our own safety and comfort. They must be rooted in what's best for democracy, the rule of law, justice, humanity. Malcolm X said it best when asked by a reporter what the ultimate price of freedom was. And he said, anytime you beg a man to set you free, you're never free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourself. And until we are willing to pay the ultimate price for freedom, we won't have it. And the reporter said, well, what's the ultimate price of freedom? And Malcolm said, the price of freedom is death. And so I don't say that to close on a negative note. I'm not trying to be morose. I do have something positive that I want to end with. Because I'm not judging anybody who eschews confrontation. Sometimes we need to rest. Sometimes we need an ally to pinch hit when we can't swing. And that's okay. Overall, however, successful movements are multifaceted. They're usually public, direct, confrontational, and unapologetic. This requires the toughness that Obama spoke of that I began with, because the enemy could care less about our manners and our modesty. Indeed, before the crown we wear, there is the cross we must bear. King reminded of this. So bear it for truth, bear it for justice, and bear it without fear for one's own personal faith, knowing that you're not in this alone. There's a lot of us who are experiencing anxiety and fear, but rather the fate of goodness, democracy, and generations to come. That's where my joy comes from. When I no longer feared loss, I couldn't be intimidated. I became overpowered with a sense of purpose and an impenetrable resolve. And like you, and like Congressman Lewis, if we take that approach, that mindset, I believe that we can change the world and right this ship. So I thank you for your time. I know it's been an hour and a half. I appreciate everybody else. Thank you for letting me close us out. And I wish you all well. Take care of yourself and keep getting into good trouble.
Dr. Whitaker, that was some preaching you just did. Then thank you so much for raising President Obama. That's definitely a moment that a lot of people are talking about, but so much is constantly going on in the news cycle. We kind of forget to, all the things that are going on. But I took that as a call to action. I know some people have different thoughts and feelings about it, but thank you so much for sharing such pointed words and wisdom and expertise with us about what was at stake in the past and what's at greater stake now, because they did the work to get us here, right? And we have to continue that work. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Now, those of you that have just heard the incredible words of Dr. Whitaker understand why Dr. Whitaker closed us out for tonight. I would just like to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been an incredible moment in the fight to be here with you. There is very little that I could say that could top the messaging that we heard tonight, but the idea of being able to sit in community in the way that we are and to be accepted the way that we are, that's the gift that we share together. It is, I believe that we find our activism and we have to do it in a way that it's comfortable. For some of us, that doesn't mean that we are going to be out in the streets, right? For some of us, it means that we're here together. It's whatever you feel comfortable doing. And I've been saying this for a while. Don't let somebody else judge the way that you want to be activated and engaged. You are just as unique and just as special and just as important. And we sometimes feel pressure that we have to step up in a way that doesn't feel authentic. So I reject that wholesale. Some of us need to do what is right for ourselves, if not all of us. And I always like to say, what is the highest and best use of you? Find that. The highest and best of you is going to make all of us whole together. And that is why I'm grateful that I have found a home in a community with all of you, and that there is a level of welcoming that makes me believe that I am going to be on the right side of history. And when my 10-year-old, who later on looks back at this moment in time and she asks, "What did you do, Mom?" I will have no shame and no regrets. I didn't sit on the sidelines for this. I'm giving it my all at great risk, but that's what we all do. And that's the only thing we can do. And that's the only thing that we could possibly do to honor the memory of somebody like John Lewis. We pale in comparison. Talking about Dr. Whitaker says we are standing on the shoulders of the people that came in front of us. When you think about the level of sacrifice that has been done, we have so much to do and so much to do to honor what they have done for us. But I like to think that we are doing this for us and for my child. You guys are doing stuff for my child that you've never even met. So if I can repay that, then that is what I am doing for all of you. Nola?
That was beautiful. And, I think about this in a context of being from the Deep South. And I was raised in a tradition of service and duty and traditions. And both of my parents served, my grandfather, his twin, my niece. I can go on and on about the people who physically put their bodies on the line for this country to serve, right? And so my service looks a little different. I just recently departed, separated from Department of State. That was very painful. I still have to mail in my badge. I still haven't done it yet, and they keep sending me emails just because I just can't. There's a level of dissonance that's going on there that I have to turn in my badge. But I say that to say that service means so much to me. It's one of the things that drove me to the divinity school in the first place. Yes, there were intellectual inquiries that I had for research, but it's this thing, service, that Dr. King talked about, and not just in service of myself, but service in all of you, to Katie's 10-year-old, to your grandchildren, your children, your grandchildren. It's that service part. And so even as I sit here and I stand here, and I am often scared, I won't lie, because I do have a substantive role, like, on the days where I'm kind of like gone all day, I'm doing my space stuff, I'm doing my foreign policy stuff, and that world is still, there's a lot of tradition baked into those worlds, right? Somebody actually called me a radical recently, and I was like, what? So anyhow, so I bring that up to say that I step into this space um, of advocacy, of using my voice in my profile, and not choosing to be afraid. Although I am afraid, I can't be afraid. I can't afford to be afraid. And I know I come from ancestors who were unafraid. So that's what good trouble means to me. Even when you are doing something, when you are risking something, that's when you really have to do it, right? That's when you have to do the scary thing. That's when you have to be unafraid. But like what Katie said, one thing that has been miraculous ever since that dark night in November, when a camera was right in front of my face and we all watched the thing that we didn't want to have happen. And I'm sure Katie was somewhere with a camera in her face too. And going through that grief process, I had to figure out, how was I going to get back up? And Persist was there. It wasn't Persist just yet until Gloria Steinem's living room, but that group chat was there. The women were there. We showed up for each other and we grieved together. And so now we are standing up. This is our service, even when we are afraid. We have to do the thing, even when we are afraid. So that's the message that I want to leave with everyone tonight. Um, do the scary thing. And everyone here, that's what you're doing. You're putting it on the line. Even if you're not out there marching and doing all the things, you're doing something. Even from Aubrey's app to Chalktivism to helping the secretary win her gubernatorial election, all the things, from putting on this event, you are doing all the things, and don't let social media tell y'all any different. You are doing the work. Okay. So do the thing, even though when you are afraid. And on that note, Katie and I both want to just thank everyone. We were watching the chat while y'all were in the background organizing all of this.
This goes beyond obviously just Persist, Moms Rising, and West Coast Women. There are
Absolutely.
people that thought to do this space tonight. That is the level of community and creativity that came to the table tonight, and the level of work that has gone into tonight. Nola and I we can't even begin to explain it. So the only thing we can say meekly is thank you. Thank you to everybody who worked so hard behind the scenes to make this happen. Thank you to all of you that have tuned in tonight. We know it's a weeknight, and we know that people, even like Angela, 3 a.m. in the morning in Germany, we're making this happen. And our gratitude to all of the speakers that came and left it all on the table for us. It made us whole again, right? My cup was running a little empty at the beginning of today, and I am now feeling full of the spirit. So thank you all for being here tonight, and thanks, and be safe, people. Be safe.
Be safe and stay in community. Be vigilant and follow everyone on social media. This is a network. This is a community. And the operative word is community. We all have to, we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. Thank you, everyone.
We'll
Yes,
be
Katie.
sending a follow-up email. So those of you that were asking, how do we get the information for the speakers? How do we follow? How to do that? Our follow-up email to all of you that attended tonight will give that information. So don't worry if you weren't able to grab it when it was flying through the chat tonight. So we'll see you all very soon.
And we want to say a special thank you to Leader Jeffries and his team for making this happen, even when there is an important vote tonight. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. Muchas gracias. All the things. Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
We studied what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was all about in Montgomery. We studied Thoreau and civil disobedience. So we were prepared when the sit-ins came and the freedom ride. And by the time of Selma, we were more than prepared. We cannot give up. We cannot give in. We cannot give out. We must hold on and march toward the mark and leave our country a little freer, a little cleaner, and a little greener, and a little more peaceful for generation yet unborn. Thank you so much.